Hello. All right, we are talking stretching out the pelvic floor. There's not a lot of good ways to stretch out the pelvic floor. Mostly we're taught exercises for tightening, lifting. But then when it comes to birth, actually what we need is not only strength, but we also need some flexibility. So there's two really good ways of stretching out the pelvic floor. First one involves a ball. So this ball is probably, about the size, that's my fist. That's a ball, so it's probably 1.5 times my fist, and it's quite firm. The spiky ball often is too hard, but you don't want like a soft, squishy ball either. It's kind of like the firmness of a spiky ball, but without all of the spikes in it. Typically, you can find these at either Kmart, Big W, Baby Bunting. Often, if you find them in Big W, they're in the baby section. You probably won't find one as nice and sparkly as this one. The ones in Big W have like animal prints on them, a bell in them, a light. Okay. So once you get this ball, what you then need to do is find a comfortable seated position. You can do it cross legs, you can do it sitting on a chair, you can do it legs out in front, doesn't really matter. And then what you need to do is find your sit bones. So the best way to find your sit bones is just to very gently rock from side to side like that. You'll find those two bony bumps underneath. Then once you've found one of your bony bumps, we pop the ball directly underneath the bony bump like that. Okay, so now I've got my sit bone, the ball, and they're sitting like that. Then what I want to do is slide my bony bump, which is also known as a sit bone or initial tuberosity, to the outside of the ball. So if we're talking my right, which to you looks like left, but say we're talking my right, I then want to slide my right over to the outside of the ball. So now the ball is sitting between my bony bump, my ischial tuberosity, my sit bone, and my coccyx bone. So it's not directly up underneath my perineum. It's kind of at the back and in that space, okay? This may well be very hard for you to do, especially if the pelvic floor is tight or tender. It's not comfortable to let your entire body weight down onto the pelvic floor. So you might want to just pop your hands down, support yourself up off the ball, and just very gently over time put more and more weight down into it. You want to do both sides, so we always want to shift up over to the other side. Again, put the ball underneath that bony bump, slide the ball over so that the ball is in between the bony bump and the coccyx bone. And I can feel it quite strongly on that side. It wasn't as strong on the other side. So I'm even having to just kind of keep my hands down onto the ground just to support a little bit of my body weight here. Of course, it's always more difficult with your legs crossed because you can't actually hold some of your weight up off the ball. If you were to do exactly the same thing on a chair, you would find it just that little bit easier. So again, if you're sitting on a chair, you just find your two bony bumps. You pop the ball directly underneath one, and then you slide that to the outside, like so, putting a little bit of pressure on. If you need to make it easier, all you need is a towel or a blanket. Usually a towel is kind of perfect. Try maybe folding it in half, popping that over the ball, and then doing the exercise. If it's still too firm, pop 4 folds over the ball. If it's not firm enough, pop one, just a single towel over. So you can play with the amount of folds of towel you have over the ball to soften it as much as possible. Really what you want to do is you want to relax onto the ball, yeah? If you can relax onto the ball, then your pelvic floor will actually let go and it will spread out. if you are spending all of your time clenching, trying to lift your body up, thinking, oh my God, this is so painful and I've got to hold it for X amount of seconds and, when is it over? Have I finished yet? You're not going to get as much benefit. So you're better off making it easier and making it something that you can hold and relax into. So towel is really, really good for that. In terms of how long, I think that's really something that's up to you and your pelvic floor. Again, this is not a torturing exercise, this is a stretching exercise. So if you're finding that you're like, ow, 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 just stop. Just do it for 1 second, 2 seconds, yeah? I would probably hold mine for about 20 or 30 seconds, but I've been doing this for a long time, yeah? So you're kind of looking anywhere between 1 to maybe about 20 seconds. Depending on where you are in your pregnancy journey, you might want to be doing this a couple of times a day. If you're thinking of, doing it more as a birth preparation, then yeah, absolutely a couple of times a day. If you're doing it specifically to get some more space in your pelvis or to help a baby turn, then maybe you only want to do it like once a day, unless you're right up towards the end of your pregnancy, in which case, again, you might want to do it a couple of times a day or maybe 3 times a day. But better to do less and do it more times a day than to sit there for half an hour on a ball. Nobody's going to be able to sit there for half an hour on a ball. If you've got the positioning wrong, it's not a problem. Yep. So I do actually use these balls to sit on and just stretch out my entire pelvic floor like that, straight up into the middle. Yep, very uncomfortable, but is absolutely doable. So if you've got the position wrong, you're not going to be doing any damage. It's not a big issue. All right, enjoy. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.